What's up?
Happy Tuesday.
How are you doing?
Doing great.
Good.
Yes. How about you? How's your day? Busy?
Not bad. Not bad. Team meeting this morning, buyer meeting, multiple emails, typical morning, basically.
Yep. I get all that.
All that fun stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's a lot to be said. We do a team huddle every single morning.
Yeah,
Just to
still.
go through what happened yesterday and what's the intent for today and goods, bads, highs, lows, all that. And
Yep.
it's so funny sometimes when you're like, I did like so many things yesterday. Can I recall them? No. But I did, and I was so productive. I know I was so productive, but do I know what I did? No.
I swear it was like 2 days ago. I was leaving work and I was just like, what did I do today actually? I know I got a lot done, but what did I actually do,
100%.
Yeah.
Then you're like, it takes like the reflecting, looking back. And do you use Sisu?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So when we look back on Sisu and be like, oh yeah, okay, that's it. Okay, I'm productive. We're good. I'm productive. We're okay here. Yeah.
I did plenty of things. Yeah. Well, cool. Let's see. I want to turn this on speaker view. There we go. I'm probably going to end up muting myself a whole bunch because I just want you to talk a lot, but we'll definitely prompt you on some stuff and all that.
Sweet. Do we have the chat on? I would love to see in real time, like where people are from, if everybody's kind of in your market or where they all are. So if you guys are on.
Yeah, chat should be on.
Where you're from.
I know I had it on and it says show chat preview. So
sweet.
Yeah.
Where are you from, guys? I see there's a handful of people on at least.
Yeah.
Where? Minnesota. Awesome.
Yeah, plenty from Minnesota. So we'll let a few more people hop on anyway and
absolutely
get started here. Rachel, you've been crushing recently, but you guys have seen a big market shift, as a lot of us have, I guess.
No, we've had a significant market shift actually. Like our shift happened the week of Easter. And yeah, it's just really has done nothing but change the strategy. I think that there's a lot of agents out there kind of using some scare tactics in regards to, like we kind of chat a little bit yesterday, in regards to pushing sellers to get on quickly as opposed to getting on right. And so I think that in and of itself is going to create a little bit of an interesting market over the next couple of months, as we're seeing, like today in our market, we have 25 new listings today and 25 price reductions today. So
wow.
Yeah, so we're definitely experiencing a shift today. Mm-hmm.
Yep, it's similar in our market. I just don't think it's quite as quick anyway.
Yeah,
but
yeah,
we're definitely seeing it.
And I think we have to be careful with some of that language, or at least be more explanatory or explain it a little bit better, right? Because when you say a shift, people immediately think like, oh, buyers are like, sweet, there's going to be deals, prices are going to tank, they're going down. And what I mean by a shift is like, okay, instead of having 0.5 months of inventory, we'll be up to 0.8 months of inventory, right? So it's like, okay, it feels like a big shift if you're in the pants of a seller, but to a buyer, it just means like maybe a house is on the market an extra week. That's about it. So
yeah, we're getting back to a more normal market, which is actually a great thing,
Exactly. That's the exact verbiage that we keep using on our team, is like, we're moving back in, like the market is normalizing. This is all good. This is great for especially the buyer's agents who've been just getting their teeth kicked in for the last 18 months, like it's brutal. It's been totally brutal out there.
Yes. So let's kind of get started anyway. I'm Joe Schwartzbauer, run the Great Up Properties team here in Minnesota with The Real Broker. We've got Rachael Novak here today. She is a powerhouse in kind of all that she does. Her and her husband Mike run a team in Washington in Snohomish County. Did I say that right?
Snohomish. Yep, I know. It's
Snohomish. So
listen.
Rachel's done over 200 transactions personally since 2017. She's got a pretty amazing track record as a listing agent, as a real estate agent, as a family member, all of those types of things. I'm happy to have you here today.
Thanks so much, Joe. So I'm really excited to connect and share what I can, bring some value hopefully to some people here.
Yeah. So, productivity is something that you've done really well with in your life, in your career. and the leverage that you've done. I would love to hear you kind of dive into that a little bit.
100%. Yeah. I mean, I think that it's necessary to kind of explain what that looks like in the beginning, because I think one of the biggest fallacies in real estate in general is that people get into it so that they can have a free schedule and be able to control their schedule. And once they actually get into it, they realize, holy smokes, actually, this business controls me. And a lot of people fall into this, if a client says, jump how high? And if a client says, I need to see a house now, you jump to go show that house now. And so I think the reason that I've been able to build so much productivity into my life is because of the leverage that I built. And in the beginning, it doesn't feel like leverage. In the beginning, it feels like a shit ton of work, excuse my French, but it feels like a lot of work, right? And so, when we started back in real estate, a little bit of history about us. My husband and I met in 2005. He was a builder. I was a transaction coordinator for a residential team, and I also worked with a commercial real estate agent. So I've been involved in real estate for a really long time. We got caught in the crosshairs of the 2008 crash. We posted a big failure of bankruptcy. My husband had 28 projects out at that time with a bunch of banks that are no longer in business. So we got hit really hard and had to pivot. So we had invested in this tiny little restaurant, and we actually moved into the restaurant industry for the next decade in 2008. And that was awful, to be totally honest with you. It was not an industry that I would recommend anybody get into unless you start with a lot of money and you're okay losing a lot of money. It was, you own a job. We learned a lot about marketing, learned a lot about, customer retention and, like target marketing and all these sorts of things. It was very valuable in what we learned. But in Washington State in 2016, if any of you remember that very controversial election that happened that year, there was a law that was passed in Washington State that basically bumped the minimum wage over $4 an hour immediately starting January 1st, 2017. My husband saw the writing on the wall. We at that time had built the restaurant company up to 7 locations and 415 employees, and we could do math. And so we knew very quickly that $4 more per hour per employee was going to add up to a significant loss for us. And he said, hey, babe, let's get back into real estate. Remember how fun that was? And against my better judgment, for sure, I said yes. And we ended up getting licensed again. He got licensed in December. I got licensed in January 2017. And we hit the ground running. We had an executive team running the restaurant company at the time. He built that. I can't really take any credit, to be honest with you, for that company. He really built and ran that company. But I saw from the fringe, I was, raising 3 young kids. We have now a 13, 11, and a 6-year-old. At the time they were, 7, 5, and almost 1. So it was a very busy time. But we luckily were able to get back into real estate, both on the sales side. So then the building side, obviously we hold inventory. If we are on the line, we are holding all of that risk. And when we decided to get in, the only reason I said yes was because we were getting into the sales side. And I said, you know what, we're going to get into this. And my goal getting back into real estate was to break the mold of what a typical real estate agent or a stereotypical real estate agent is. It's like, I want to bring people value. I want to look at it as I'm consulting. I'm working shoulder to shoulder with my clients. I am not steering. I'm not bossing. I'm not slimy. I'm not getting people to do things that they don't want to do anyways, but really being an asset to people through this huge transition in their lives. So once we got back into real estate, like I said, we had very young kids. My husband hit the ground running. We applied all the marketing stuff that we had learned. We immediately started pay-per-click leads, and that was our bread and butter. So the first year, just the 2 of us, we closed 79 transactions, and it was about 75 of them were pay-per-click leads. Yep. So the schedule looked like this, guys, because we didn't get into it because we wanted a free life. We didn't get into it because we wanted freedom of our schedules. We got into it because we knew the kind of life that we could possibly build with the income that real estate earns you, right? You can make doctor money, and it's a very low barrier of entry. You don't come into it with $300,000 of college debt, right? And so being able to have a business like this at your fingertips to be able to build something and build a business and make this kind of money, it's important that you're leveraging yourself, because this business can absolutely own you. So one of the ways that I did that first year, at that time, because we were just starting out in real estate, and we basically, the restaurant company was completely going under because of that minimum wage hike. We knew that was going to happen. I could not afford daycare. And so I had 2 kids in elementary school. I had one 1-year-old. My schedule literally looked like picking up the kids, dropping them off at school, the big 2. I had a friend that would watch my youngest for a couple of hours. And part of the leverage that I utilized during that time, when I had 5 hours a day, that's it. I had between 9 and 2 o'clock every day, Monday through Friday, that I could do something without children around me or tugging on me or in my back seat. And I literally spent that 5 hours so focused on phone calls. My husband and I were role playing, we were scripting, we were looking at the market, we were educating ourselves. We immediately did hire a coach. We put our couple of first month's coaching calls on a credit card bill because we knew what we needed. We knew that we needed to build leverage into our lives. And I think one of the things is when people are building a real estate business or building a business in general, and they bring somebody on to take things off of their plate, like a daycare or like an assistant, they bring people in and then they don't really utilize the time that they're paying for leverage to actually do money and revenue generating activities. And that is one of the biggest mistakes that us as real estate agents can make, is that we feel like, oh, we've worked so hard and I'm just so mentally exhausted, I'm going to relax, or I'm going to go to happy hour, or I'm going to do this. And we justify this behavior of not really putting in the work when we should be. So I think one of the main first keys that I would recommend anybody is, if you're bringing in any sort of leverage to your life, whether it's a daycare, use that time for revenue generating activities.
Yeah, I think there's a big thing with, the difference between working in your business, working on your business, as well as just like, you could spend all day long going through emails. Is that really productive activity though? Like, it should be time blocked of when you're actually to do that activity.
That's exactly right, Joe, 100%. And that's really kind of what it came down to was, I would get up early before I had to bring the kids anywhere, and I would check emails and I would create my to-do list, right, for the day and prioritize it. As soon as I got into the office, I would knock out any first priorities I needed to do. And then it was revenue generating activities, because really I can check my email and respond to emails with kids around me. I can't make phone calls and have intelligible conversations with clients or potential clients with children around me. And so as a mom and as somebody who, is trying to build this business, I have a vision of what I want. It's scary as hell. It is scary to be in a position where I'm working a lot and I'm staying up late and I'm getting up early because I can't afford the leverage that I want yet. It is scary to be doing that and be on commission only. So it really takes that time, right? That discipline of utilizing that leverage for actual money-making activities.
Yeah. All right. You can stay up all night watching Netflix, or you can stay up all night preparing for your next day and making sure that you are set up to do that. I mean, I know that's something that you guys are really big on, that, the night before you should be looking at what your schedule is and understanding what that next day is going to bring you, so you can make sure that you are prepared for that.
100%. Yeah. I know a lot of people and a lot of coaches in this space and in fitness spaces and all sorts of different arenas will talk about, your morning routine. Your morning routine is the most important. And Mike and I are of the belief that your nighttime routine is twice as important as your morning routine, because every single night, and I still do it to this day, I do something called a brain dump at night. Because at the end of the day, you've got so much crap thrown at you all day from every area of your life, from, social media that you've scrolled, from, clients, from, teammates, through other colleagues, through phone calls you've had, through clients telling you to F off and whatever, right? Like, there's so many things that we deal with every single day that by the time you get into bed, it's like your head is just swirling with all of these details. And one of the things that I still literally do is I'll pull out a note on my phone and I just sit there and type out every single thing that's in my brain, every single thing. And there's no rhyme or reason to it. I just list everything in my brain. Then what I can do is take all those things and prioritize them and create the to-do list from those items. But knowing and having the confidence that those things are out of my head and into a note allows me to actually sleep. And that's the exact same concept as getting a babysitter and leveraging that time. Get that shit out of your brain so you can actually rest. you need a clear head, right, when you get up the next morning. So that's definitely a key for sure for something. I think okay, Joe. Oh,
Yeah, I absolutely love that. I mean, sleep is so important. And if you are thinking about all of the day's activities that you did or didn't do, or those things that you're worried you may miss the next day, yeah, that brain dump. I love that.
yeah.
That's really great.
Yeah. I was literally laying in bed last night thinking, okay, I need to make sure I call this person back, and I got to check in on that appraisal, and I got to call the vet because, my dog, or this and this and this and this. And it's like, okay, I know myself well enough to know that if I try to remember it all, I'm going to miss something and I'm going to let somebody down. And as a 99I, as somebody who I am a people pleaser at heart. I want people to like me. It's really important to me that I don't let people down. And so I have to own the fact that if I need to do something other than just remember it, to take care of my people and to show up for my people, then I'm going to do it. So yes, Carla, a nightly brain dump is something that I have utilized for years. It still works. It is not a hack. It is a must do for sure. So that's definitely one of the ways that I'm able to create a to-do list for the next day and build productivity into my everyday life so that things don't get missed. Because us as real estate agents in this space, man, as you know, Joe, like we've got stuff going on every single day in every direction.
I mean, you can't just keep it all in your brain. It's impossible. I mean, that's why any good agent uses a good CRM. You have that, 100%. But there's so many other things. There's things that don't always go into a CRM. Just, that brain dump. I love it. Yeah.
That's exactly right. Yep. So once for the first couple of months, once we got back into the business, I kind of set myself a goal for like how many houses I wanted to sell, or actually it was how much money I wanted to save before I could justify hiring a nanny. And I knew that for me personally, that was going to be the first thing that I needed to do to get that stress off of my plate so that I could free myself up to do additional revenue generating activities. Now, for me and Mike in our business, since I had been in the real estate business before and I had done transaction coordination, I was doing all of it. So for all those 79 transactions, I did 100% of the transaction coordination, contract to close work. I did all of the listing coordination, and we were and I showed all of my own homes. It was a grind, you guys. It was not glamorous. It was so awful, but I knew that if I put in the work now and I set myself goals for income, for savings, for, having enough cash on hand that we could weather a storm, right? Because we'd experienced that before. We'd lost everything in 2008. I knew what having nothing felt like. And when you've been through something like that, you can either use that fear to paralyze you, or you can use that fear to fuel you. And that truly is what I did, right? I allowed it to fuel me.
I love that. I absolutely love that, because it is, you can make the choice to be afraid. You can make the choice to move forward and use that past experience, or even just the knowledge that has happened in the past, to make sure that you are better set up for the future.
100%. And truly my goal with sharing that is, if somebody can take some of that knowledge and not experience the failure that I experienced, self-inflicted, I'm hoping that inspires somebody to, take action in their today, right? In their current life. So I got there. It was about 5 months in, and I had saved enough that I could justify hiring a nanny. And I had 6 months worth of like nanny payments, basically, to be able to do that. So that's kind of how I started justifying it to myself to build leverage into my life. Was I worked my butt off knowing that, my kids were watching Netflix and doing their homework in the backseat of the car. I left the car running during showings. They were in there till 7:30 p.m. because in the morning I would literally like make them food and picnic snacks so that I could just throw food at them in the back seat in between clients, right? I mean, there was nothing glamorous about this life whatsoever. But come that summer, I had saved enough and I was able to justify hiring a nanny. So that's what I did. So now I had morning leverage. And the first thing that I took back was my fitness. So I had that nanny come at 5 a.m. I started getting up and going to the gym. Beforehand, I was literally doing little 30-minute workouts in the office or right at the gym around the corner from our office at lunchtime, because that was the only time that I had to get in there. So I took back my fitness in the morning. And now all of a sudden I had 10 hours. From 5 a.m. to 5 p.m., I had 10 hours, 5 days a week, that I could do something. So instead of letting off the gas,
you doubled your time. Yeah, I mean, literally that one piece of leverage doubled the amount of time that you had to work. And that's impressive.
Exactly right. Exactly right. So now with this newfound schedule, I was able to do the exact same thing. So number one, like I said, I took my self-care back. I took my mental game, right? Because for me, fitness in the morning is a fundamental part of my life. Because if I feel confident and I feel good and I feel healthy, I'm going to show up confidently and I'm going to show up better for my people, my clients. So I took that back first. That was number one. Then it was getting into the office early. I love getting into the office an hour or two before title and escrow and mortgage lenders get into the office, because I can get all my emails knocked out, my to-do lists done, my follow-ups and call list made, so that by the time people are getting back into the office and I've got things that actually need to be responded to, I'm clear-headed, I'm ready, I've got it ready to go. So I built that in first, right? My morning was back first. Then I've got all this time to schedule client showings and home valuation appointments, or also known as listing appointments. And I really made a point to start segregating the days that I met with different clients. So I think so many real estate agents are really scared to say, sorry, I'm booked that during that time.
We literally on our morning huddle this morning, we're talking about this exact thing. So
Were you?
I'm into it. Yes. Yeah.
Love it. Yes.
This is great.
Perfect. Yeah. I think there's so many people that are afraid to, because there's a scarcity mentality. There's a fear that if I say I'm not available at this time, that they're just going to go find somebody else to work with. And the reality is, if you show up confident and knowledgeable and authentic, people want to work with you, right? Like they will want to work with you and they will move their schedule around to fit into yours. And so I adopted this attitude that, look, I believe in an abundant mentality. I believe that if I show up and I bring value, then the people that are meant to work with me and that want to work with me and that are coachable, that are ambitious, that are financially qualified, right? My target clients will be there and will be available. So that's what I started doing. So I created this schedule where I was at the gym, in the office in the morning. I had 2 hours a day of prospecting time, typically from like 8:30 to 10:30 or 9 to 11. And it was religious. So Mondays and Tuesdays were new clients. And then I do Wednesday follow-ups with all of my hot and ready clients. And then I do Thursday follow-ups with my listing clients or scheduling open houses, or whatever I needed to do. So I had a very specific schedule with how I followed up with each different set of clients. And then I had basically like 3 time slots. So I had a 2, a 4, and a 6. And then other days I had a noon, a 2, and a 4. And those were the slots that I left available for clients, period. And I'm talking, people would say, hey, well, actually, could you do 5 o'clock tonight? And the problem with 5 o'clock is that it takes up your entire evening. Where if you are able to meet somebody at 4 and then again at 6, now you fit twice as much business into the same evening. So I quickly realized that if you suggest, hey, and instead of waiting for them to tell you when they're available, you say, hey, I've got 4 o'clock today, or I've got 6 o'clock tomorrow. Which one of those works for you? They will look at their schedule and adjust and fit into your schedule. And that was how I started controlling my schedule. It was such a fundamental difference between, when I was in the very beginning, I had people in our office who would try to say, when a client needs to meet, you go meet them. You go meet them right away. You make sure that they don't, they don't fall between your fingers or you don't lose them. And I never resonated with that energy at all. Like I've resonated with, you bring people value and they're going to be loyal to you. You treat them well, you communicate clearly, they're going to stay with you.
I mean, your vibe attracts your tribe too.
Yes, exactly.
It's the people that you want to work with. They are going to also make the time to work with you. That, you can't be available all hours of the day. There has to be some semblance of a schedule that they can also fit into.
Totally. Yeah, that's absolutely accurate for sure. So once I had established, now I've got a nanny, right, to hand off my kids. And to be honest with you guys, like it took a lot for me to get over all of the mom guilt. The first year, like when I was away from the kids that much, there was a lot of mom guilt or parent guilt, right? There was a lot of, I'm prioritizing business or I'm prioritizing clients or this. And even as young as they were, they would even say sometimes, Mom, I miss you. And it was a consistent thing for me to be able to still get up and still do the things I needed to do, because again, I had a vision and I knew what I wanted to build into my life. And so many people want to control their schedule, but nobody, or not as many people, realize that they have to earn it. You have to earn being able to control your schedule like that. You don't just get a real estate license and then boom, I control my schedule, right? You have to build business. You have to build consistent business. You have to build revenue, and you have to build capital. You have to build capital stores for you to be able to have the confidence to take time off when you need it or want it. So, and I knew that, right? Mike and I had talked about that a lot, and we had a plan. So my second piece of leverage was an assistant. And I finally, at the end of 2017, our first year, finally hired an assistant who I was able to start giving off the administrative tasks to and some of the transaction coordination tasks. So instead of an hour or two of me spending doing transaction coordination and paperwork and the back and forth with escrow, now I can use that time for, guess what? More revenue generating activities.
Yeah, an assistant is one of the, it should always be the first hire that you make. I mean, we both coach with Hatch. He will say that over and over again, but it's funny. Maybe the first, hire that you make is actually a nanny. So maybe the book needs to be rewritten.
Totally. And I mean, for the guys on here, right? Like if they have a wife who has a more flexible schedule, that may not be as relevant, right? But for me as a mom, it's always come down to, like, me and Mike work together in business, and we've segmented our business where we have different AORs, which works for us, right? We run a 2 rainmaker business, which is rare. It's a little different than a lot of people's. And so he focuses on these things in the business. I focus on these things in the business. He runs a lot of our I don't want to say like vendor contracts. So he's got relationships with Sierra Interactive and Sisu and Wailopo, and he takes a lot of those relationships on. And I take on the kids and the kids schedule. And, there's 3 of them. They've got sports and they've got school and they've got history fairs and all sorts of things. So for me, for my business and my life as a mom, I want to be present in their life, but I knew that I had to earn the right to be a high producer and generate income and be a contributor financially to my family, as well as earning my time back so that I could spend it with them.
There's a great quote. It's do what others won't today so you can do what others can't tomorrow. And that's so true. You really do need to sacrifice sometimes. That sacrificing family is very difficult, but if you can make sure that the time that you are spending with your family is even more quality because you've scheduled your day for that, that quality time can make up for any lack, in my opinion.
Yes. And that is absolutely spot on, Joe, because one thing that I did really early on, even in the very, very beginning, was Mike and I would alternate Sundays. So before we had showing partners, which was, I'll talk about in a second, because that was my next hire. Before we had partners, we alternated Sundays so that we could spend a full day just with the kids, paying attention to them, loving on them, doing bike rides and hikes and all sorts of things. And it was hard because Mike and I are best friends and we also work together. And the reason that we're able to stay married and best friends and working together is because of those 2 different AORs in the business, right? So we come together as business partners and then we go and we stay in our lane. But that was kind of how we balanced that at first, because I think that it's important that we still do build in time for ourselves. And like you said, spending that quality time with our kids, because kids need quality. They don't need quantity. And in my opinion, and this can be controversial, but in my opinion, saying that I missed my kids' first steps, or I missed them losing their first tooth, or I missed this and this, kids don't remember any of those things. But me, for my ego, I want to be part of that. When what I did, especially for our youngest, was I sacrificed some of those things to be able to build the life that we have now.
Yeah.
And that's hard. And like I said, it's probably
this is the life that they're going to remember, though, is this life now. And, it's that's a hard thing to think about as well. And, I mean, another thing that you were saying there too, with that quality time, having that schedule, a child is going to remember you being with them, but being on your phone the whole time. It's that quality time that you need to be actually focused on them and have that focus.
That's exactly right. And Mike and I both still to this day have built into our evening schedule an hour of NPT. That's no phone time. So every single hour between 7 and 8, that's our NPT. And we will check, of course, our phones and connect with people. And there's exceptions, of course, if we're in the middle of a negotiation, of course. But overall, we do that exactly that, Joe, because again, the quality of the time, like they will 20 minutes completely focused on them, looking them in the eye, having a conversation, listening to them about their kid dramas or homework or whatever it is, they will remember significantly more than 2 hours of quality time of you sitting on your phone watching a movie when they're not looking at each other, right? So it is about the quality for sure. One other thing that we still did just as a married couple was we adopted early on the every 90-day rule, where every 90 days we take a long weekend. So we take a 4-day weekend every 90 days. And that was pretty hard. The first year, to be honest, we didn't do that. But after that, after the first year in 2018, we started doing that. And every other one is just the two of us, and every other one is with the kids. So it's, again, a way for us to have something to really look forward to. We're able to plan around that. We're able to let our clients know, hey, I'm completely booked that weekend. We never say, oh, I'm going to Vegas, right? To our clients, it's, hey, I'm booked. I'm completely booked that weekend. Can we push it to Monday at 6 or whatever, right? And I think that's another point that for as real estate agents, we need to stop oversharing about things. We don't need to tell everybody that, oh, I have a hair appointment, or, oh, sorry, I've just been so busy with this over here, or, oh, I'm going out, with my mom and like clients don't care. It's as simple as this, guys. If you would be with another client, you wouldn't say, oh, sorry, I'm actually with another client right now. In my opinion, you'd say, sorry, I'm booked. I'm in an appointment. So how is an appointment for yourself or for your family any different? It's not. You are booked. You are booked.
Yeah, it's the vernacular of it all, and I love that. We overshare. That's very good point.
Yeah. And I think that it's, I think a lot of people are afraid or feel the need to justify not being available, when really everybody knows that if you want something done, you ask a busy person to do it, because they've created a sense of urgency in their lives. They are, things in motion stay in motion. They're going to get shit done. So if you're busy or you're booked, no matter whether it's personal or business, people aren't going to be shying away from that. They're going to say, oh, all right, well, where can she fit me in? Because I know that train's rolling, right? So like you said, kind of the vernacular of it. It's like, let's focus on the fact that I have appointments and I'm booked, and not what it is at that time, right?
Yep. People want to work with people that are successful. People that are successful are busy. So
yes, yeah, that's exactly right. Exactly right. So once we got the assistant, that was a game changer for us, because that allowed me to really focus on production. And as a real estate agent, there is no better or more profitable place to be in the beginning, right, of a business than in production. And like you said, we both work with Hatch. And for the first couple of years in our business, we did not work with Hatch. We worked with a couple of other coaches who were wonderful in their own ways. And we were able to glean so much information off of them, and operations and processes and good systems and tactics. But I think one of the best things that, about our sandbox, Joe, is that all of us are constantly changing and evolving and seeing what's going on in the market, and what are we doing better, and how does this conversation need to change because of this, one little thing over here. And I think we do a really, really good job in our sandbox, right? In our kind of connection of people, at continuing to have those conversations and not saying what worked 4 years ago is not working anymore. It's okay.
I mean, it's a whole nother piece of leverage, is surrounding yourself with the right people. And,
Exactly.
knowing if you're the smartest person in the room, you shouldn't be in that room. Like, I want to be around people that are steps and levels and years ahead of me. And that's what's going to make me better.
Yeah. Preach. It's exactly right. Exactly right. So once we had the assistant come on, I had a nanny, like I've got all these pieces of leverage in my life. And again, I guess I'm connecting.
You just logged in as well.
Apparently. Weird. Anyways, that's really weird. The next piece of leverage was the partner. So one of the best things, I wonder if somebody used a link or something. Anyways, sorry, Joe.
Sorry.
So one of the next thing that I did to create another level of productivity and leverage in our business was the partner model. So having an assistant, an executive assistant, really took the weight of the paperwork and a lot of those things off of my plate, which was super, super helpful. But the next thing I had to take off was a lot of the menial, and I mean this in the best way possible, but the menial client communications. So things like showing houses, things like getting, forms and disclosure forms from listings when buyers are interested, things like sitting inspections, things like letting an appraiser into a home, things like dropping off a form that they need to fill out. These are all things that can take up an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours of your day, and they are not, again, revenue generating activities. So one of the things that, Eric brought to our life, which is one of the most beneficial things ever, was this partner model, and being able to bring somebody in to assist in your business, all of the things that you don't necessarily need to be the one to do. We liken it to a nurse and doctor role, right? Where I'm the doctor, I'm performing the surgery, I'm the one negotiating, I'm the one talking to them and having hard cliff conversations and, negotiating between sometimes my client and then the other person too, right? Like there's a lot of that communication that I control, but my partner is the one coordinating inspections and sitting them and getting the client's information and collecting information for listing paperwork and all that kind of stuff. I'm really baffled by this.
Yeah, I want to remove you, but I don't, because I'm afraid it's going to remove you.
Yeah, I don't know who that is.
But yeah, the showing partner model it's amazing. It's amazing what it can do for your business and your time. And I mean, for me, one of the biggest reasons that I moved towards it was to get my family time back. Like I really wanted to be able to have those additional hours to spend with my family. It was really important for me to bring that on. And I was concerned at the beginning of it, is that something that was going to end up being profitable for me? And lo and behold, it has, which is really great. But it was a scary thing to bring somebody on and put them on salary right away.
Yeah.
So
yeah. So, I mean, same exact concept as bringing on a nanny, right, Joe? I mean, when I'm justifying this, I need to say, okay, if I'm going to bring this person on, I need to, number one, have enough to actually pay this person, because I care about them. I care about, if I'm going to be providing them a job, a full-time job, it's important to me that I'm able to bring just as much value to their life. So when I brought on our nanny, we had 6 months of reserves set aside specifically for that, to make sure that we could easily cover it for 6 months if I sold not one more house. We did the exact same thing with our assistant, and then we went and did the exact same thing with our partners. So since I specialize in listings now, I did not our first couple of years, of course, but I do now, and Mike specializes in buyers. He has a showing partner and I have a listing partner. So the exact same concept on both sides, and it's simply just bringing that person on, and they have 3 main jobs. Number one, to provide me leverage to do all of the things that I need them to do that, aren't necessarily all client facing. Number 2, they train, they role play, they learn contracts, they are shadowing me on appointments, they are learning language patterns, and they are learning how to talk to people and about the real estate business in general. And then number 3 is lead generate. Like it's important for them that they contribute to my business, because I am giving them the keys to the kingdom, so to speak, right? I'm teaching them how to be a high level, a high producing agent. And all I ask in return is for a 2-year commitment. So I'm on my second listing partner now. My first partner was with me almost for 2.5 years. And she was amazing. Like she was able to grow from like completely brand new in the business. And that gave her it was a low base, but it was a base big enough for her to be able to eat, pay basic bills, and still be a little bit of a contributor in her family while she learned all these skills. And then just this beginning of this year, she branched off and is now an agent on our team. And to watch her fly and to sell 1 or 2 houses a month is just incredible, right?
And that's the thing, is she's now an agent on your team. You've grown from within, and that's why I love that model.
Yes, exactly right. So I hired my second partner. She's caught on super, super quick. She was actually showing partner for another agent on our team for a year. And then she decided she wanted to jump into the listing side, and it's been invaluable. Same exact thing. So and like you said, Joe, I think that third hire for me, so I have a nanny, I have an assistant, and now I've got a partner. And the partner was the one who I finally was able to say, I can now have paperwork covered. I can now have client communication, basic client communication covered. So the showing partner is giving me my family back. So I've now been able to scale back the nanny, because 3 days a week I get to pick my kids up from school and spend the evening with them now, right? And then 2 nights a week and every other Saturday are my client time. So the kids know mom works late Tuesdays and Thursdays and every other Saturday. And those are the times, again, because I've been so used to over the last 5 years saying, these are the times I have available to clients. I fit them into the schedule where I want them. And all other time, whether it's with my kids, whether it's with another client, whether it's with my team, or whether it's on a trip with my husband, I am simply booked. I'm unavailable that day because I'm already booked. And people will fall into the schedule that you have available if you continue to bring them value. So that was the biggest piece for me, was bringing on that partner. Like that was the ultimate productivity, the ultimate leverage to allow me to be a present mom, while still being producing at a high level. I still sell 45 to 55 houses a year, and I probably work 30 hours a week now. So it's a huge.
That's
major.
really impressive.
Thank you. Yeah. And it's because of the leverage, right? It's because of the leverage that I've built in my business. And I think another big part, of course, when you're bringing people in and you have built this leverage, it's so important to continue to nurture and keep proximity to your people. I've made the mistake before of bringing somebody on and then just kind of taking them for granted and saying, hey, like you do this for me. But when they work that closely with you, whether it's working with your kids or whether it's working as your assistant, they continue to want proximity and they want to grow. The right people do. And so continuing to build into your schedule time to spend with those people, whether it's weekly or every other week, I give half an hour to an hour with each one of my direct reports. And we just sit down and connect. And I want to know their dreams and their hopes and what they want to do with their life and where they see themselves. Because if I can continue to build a runway and paint the picture of success, that their version of success and what that looks like for them, and it fits within my vision of our business, then I'm going to retain more people. And the more people that we're able to retain and keep around us, the good people, then the better all of our businesses are going to be. So I think that, making sure that we're prioritizing our time, split, I think my time now is probably a third my team, a third clients, and a third family. And it's taken almost 5.5 years to build it up to that. But having that balance and focusing on those things and keeping those rhythms is so key to making sure that you're productive.
It's not something that just happens overnight. It takes time. And, that's a tough thing for a lot of people to understand as well, that, there is a process to it. There are steps that you need to take, and each step leads to the next step. And, you'll get to your point.
Yeah, exactly right. So I think besides creating the productivity and creating the leverage and having the revenue generating activities as the focal point in the very beginning of, my real estate career and building this leverage in, knowing how much work it takes and being realistic with yourself is so key. Knowing that you have to earn controlling your schedule, and controlling your schedule doesn't look like you think it's going to, right? Mike and I, we were kind of had this reputation before we got our own offices. We kind of had this reputation of being a-holes because we wouldn't just sit around the water cooler and BS for an hour or two. Like, we had stuff to do, right? We had to get to work. Like we were there to do business. We were there to create a life for ourselves. And so now that we've got that life mostly built, I mean, it's always in progress, but now that we've got a lot of this leverage built in and we're able to be productive while working a little bit less than we were in the beginning, now we can be a little more relaxed around the office and a little more social with our team and all that. But I think that's, thinking that going out to lunch every day or joining a networking group every other week, like those, if you're not actively doing things to generate revenue for your business, then you're not utilizing the leverage that you have in your life well enough, in my opinion.
Love it. So, you're the leadership of yourself as well. I know that's something that's really big, and that's something that, you do take time for yourself. Being prepared yourself is the only way that you can show up for other people. And I'd love to hear some about that.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a huge concept when it comes to prioritizing in your life. Because like I mentioned before, the first thing that I took back when I hired a nanny was my fitness. And, we chatted a little bit yesterday, Joe, about what self-care does and does not look like. And I think that our our culture, our country has glamorized self-care as this like sitting in a bubbly bathtub with cucumber slices over my eyes and eating a cupcake and, like giving myself a thumbs up and a pat on the back because I had a rough day and I'm making it all better with the self-care is a complete fallacy. You guys, like self-care is about making sure that you are giving to yourself first, filling your cup first, so that you can give everything to everybody else all day long. Because if you're not giving to yourself, guess what? You're going to get the leftovers, or your family are going to get the leftovers. And I'm not sure what's worse, to be totally honest. So really the leading yourself and focusing on the things that you can control is so, so, so important. One thing that I always tell my team, I reiterate it constantly, is that you are responsible for 3 things. You are responsible for what you do. You are responsible for what you don't do. And you are responsible for how you respond to things that happen to you. And if you know and consistently look through the lens of I am responsible for either doing or not doing, or I'm responsible for my response in this situation, then you can consistently take ownership over any and every situation. And when it comes down to truly building self-care into your regimen, I think that, courage and building confidence are 2 huge concepts, because a lot of people don't naturally have the confidence, right? I think one other kind of lie that we've been told our whole lives is that people are born leaders, right? People are born as a leader, or people are born with confidence, or born just courageous from the beginning. And that's baloney. Okay. It's absolute bullshit. Okay. Like confidence is built through the consistent keeping of the promises you make to yourself. If you continue to say, I'm going to get up at this time and I'm going to call that client and I'm going to spend 2 hours prospecting and I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, and you don't do those things that you're saying that you're going to do, you're going to erode your own confidence. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense to me with 100%. I mean, it's the whole idea of, snoozing, hitting the snooze button in the morning. I'm big on waking up early. I love that. And the idea of hitting a snooze button is that you would rather be sleeping than going out and, conquering your goals for the day.
100%. And the thing is, like, I love sleeping in. I build in 1 snooze a day because I love hitting the snooze button. But I intentionally set my alarm 9 minutes earlier than I need to actually get up so I can hit it 1 time, right? A little fun fact. So I think when you're consistently waking up and saying, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to eat well, and I'm going to call these clients, and I'm going to have that hard conversation, and then you actually do those things, every single time you keep a promise to yourself, or you do what you say, even in your own head, that you're going to do, you're going to continue to build the confidence within yourself. It's a complete, you can build it, right? Mike, my husband, always equates it to like a steel cable, right? A steel cable is not 1 single thread. A really strong steel cable is multiple threads that are braided together. And every single time you keep a promise to yourself, you've added another thread to that braid. And the more that you add, the more little threads that you add to that braid, the stronger that metal cord is going to be. To so much so to that when you've built this thing so thick and you're so confident, that we're not talking ego. Oh, there I go. So odd. When you've built that steel cable so thick and you are so confident, no conversation, no decision, no naysayers, no haters can break you down. And if that isn't enough motivation for you to build the confidence every single day so that you can go through the day knowing that you can get shit done because you've built up the trust in yourself, I don't know what else to tell you.
I love that analogy. That's phenomenal.
Yeah, it truly, it breaks it down in, such a tangible way, right? Because we as real estate agents, we show up best when we feel good, right? People can sense it when you're faking it. That whole fake it till you make it stuff is just, guys. You've got to build that confidence. And part of building that confidence is that self-care, right? It is showing up. It is getting up and maybe not hitting snooze if I'm Joe, or maybe hitting it 1 time if I'm Rachel, right? Getting up early. It's going to the gym if you say you're going to be going to the gym. It's having a good meal if you say you're going to. It's calling and having that hard conversation in real time with the person that you need to, right? And every single time that happens, you're building more confidence and you're exercising that courage. So I wonder if anybody in here, and I'd love to see hands if you do, but does anybody in here like suffer massively from paralysis by analysis by chance?
It's one of the toughest things.
Dude, that is one of the hardest things to overcome, especially in this industry. Prospecting, for instance, if you have any sort of CRM that will notify you when you've got behavior-based communications, or the client's done something or done a hand raise, us as real estate agents will go in there and look for every single reason why not to call that person. Like, oh, well, they just got a text yesterday from the bot. And that comes out of the price range. Or, oh, there's every reason in the entire world not to call that person. But are you exercising confidence and courage when you're not calling them? Probably not.
Yeah.
Right.
And that phone call, every time that you make that phone call, becomes much easier. Every time that you reach out, you are building that confidence that the next time, the third, fourth, fifth, the 100th time that you do it, it's now just a reaction, and you just do it because you've built that confidence.
100%. And it's about exercising that courage and saying, hey, instead of this, paralysis, because I'm trying to analyze the situation, I'm going to not worry about the perfection or the perfect phone call or the perfect script, and I'm just going to execute. One of our main values on our team, on the Novak team, is execution over perfection. Because all day long, you can sit there and justify all the reasons why you didn't do something that you probably should have, when in reality, if you just did it, it's probably over in less than 4 minutes. It was a simple check-in. It probably was slightly awkward at first, but ended probably pretty well. The person might feel taken care of. And now, how productive and how much more confident and how you just exercised courage could you possibly feel?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's, and people don't register that as self-care. But at the end of the day, like, part of self-care is exercising the courage and confidence. And that is taking control and having leadership over yourself, right?
Well, you're going to get full of anxiety if you've got those things on your plate to do and you're not doing them. Those are festering. Those are going to eat away at you. And that erodes confidence.
That's exactly right, Joe. What a good point. What a good point. Because I know I personally have experienced where, I've put off making a tough phone call for a couple of days, like till the very last second. And those don't end well, right?
No. Well, and that's going to eliminate, every task that you're doing in between then. Well, that task is waiting back there. Yeah. It's not going to be done as well, Yeah,
it's like sitting on your shoulder talking to you the entire time, right? Like a little monkey. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I think that, exercising that courage and building that confidence like a steel cable, and then, recognizing that those things in and of themselves are self-care, right? The nightly brain dump is self-care. It's making sure that you're taking care of the things that you need to. You're having leadership over yourself and owning the situation that you're in every arena, so that you can show up as the confident, value-giving person that your clients and your kids and your spouse need you to be.
Love it. Absolutely love it. This was phenomenal. Yeah. Any parting words, last thoughts that you have?
I think, honestly, I think that confidence is one of the things that is overinflated in this business. So I think that making sure that people understand that confidence and arrogance can look similar, but confidence at the end of the day doesn't have ego. Confidence truly comes from a place of knowing that you bring value, and arrogance comes from ego, right? And it feels inflated. And the conversations that we have with clients, people can feel that, guys. We're in a different day and age where there is so much information thrown at us all day long in our Instagram and Facebook feeds, in our emails, and everywhere that we look, we've got stuff thrown at us all day long. And so I would say, as real estate agents, we need to continue to be authentic. We need to continue to be genuine. We need to continue to improve ourselves and build that confidence and keep promises to ourselves and continue educating ourselves and keep each other around, Joe, right? In this sandbox of people who want to grow and who want to see nothing but good for each other and build each other up. Like, stay in those circles, because who you surround yourself with matters, right? And I think making sure that you continue to take care of yourself and exercise that self-care and utilize the time that you're leveraging for productivity is going to be key to your success. And of course, then conversely, your clients and your team's success as well. So,
Definitely.
yeah.
Rachel, thank you so much. I would encourage everybody to go and watch Rachel's Becoming a CEO of Your Life series. It was phenomenal. Definitely want to check out. Very, very good.
Thank you so much. Yeah. It's on YouTube. The Hatch Coaching channel has hosted it very graciously for me. So you can literally look up Becoming the CEO on YouTube and they'll come up. So I have 2 more parts coming still. So part 4 will be at the end of this month, and then part 5 will be next month. So Joe, thank you so much. This was so much fun. And I just love, everybody needs to look how freaking awesome his black office is with that real sign in the background. Like, I just love it. I think it's so cool.
Thank you. Well, Rachel, thank you. If anybody wants to reach out to Rachel, you can basically Google her. I'm sure you can find your information pretty easily.
Yeah, find me on social. That's going to be the fastest way. So Instagram is at Rachael Novak. I've got that extra A. Thanks, Mom. Or Facebook is just Rachael Novak. So Carla, thank you so much for saying that. That's really sweet. So Joe, thanks for putting this together. Let's do it again soon, friend.
Wonderful. Thank you, guys.
Yep. Take care.